And welcome aboard to the Captain Lou Extravaganza Live here on the Captain Lou Sports Network and the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network. Hey, I'm just another sports fan, but you know what? I think I can bring you a lot of lively entertainment, some great guests, and who knows, some great banner as well. And you might even learn something. What are we waiting for? Let's get out to the show, the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Indeed, welcome to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the Captain Lou Sports Network, episode 7 of our podcast series. We're also on the Belly Up Sports group of podcasts, and yours truly, Captain Lou, here with you tonight, and we have got a ton to talk about in the world of basketball. Of course, the NBA Finals are history. Golden State winning again. Are they a dynasty? We'll talk about that here shortly. But we want to start out with a big trade here locally that affects us here in the Michigan area, and I couldn't think of a better person to have on the show tonight. Our basketball expert, guru, historian, all rolled up into one, none other than Steve Finamore. Steve, welcome to the show again, my friend. How are you?
Hey, Captain Lou, I'm doing great, and it's a pleasure being on, and I really appreciate you having me come in and talk some basketball.
Oh, hey, it's always basketball time. You know, it's funny. Before we get into talking about it, you know, we got the draft tomorrow night, but it's whenever I can get on and talk hoops with you, I'm ready to throw it in the basket, man. And we had a great series, I thought. But first of all, before we get into that, about an hour ago, it came down that Jeremy Grant from the Pistons got traded to Portland. And Steve, I'm going to ask you right off the get-go, do you think that was more of a salary dump? You don't. It looks like to me, just on the surface, they weren't going to sign him to a long-term contract that he's going to be eligible for coming up after this year.
You know, I kind of understand why they did it, and I think you're onto something there about the money situation. I have to admit, Lou, and I never come on your show and tell lies or blow smoke, but I'm not a Jeremy Grant fan.
Okay.
I never was. I never was. You know, he was drafted, I think, in the second round way back in the day with Philadelphia in 2015. And, you know, the last 2 years with the Pistons, he hasn't played a full season. I'm not thrilled about him. Never liked his game. And I'm hoping this helps the Pistons, you know, in the front office with their money situation.
Well, I know they've got, I think now it frees up like $43 million for the cap.
Yep.
That's huge.
Yep.
But
no, it really is, because they got to attract someone. And I tell you, Lou, I love to see them get the big kid from Phoenix, DeAndre Ayton. I love to see him come to Detroit, because I think they're about, you know, 2, maybe 3 players away.
Yeah.
And it's sad, Lou, because, you know, I've been here 25 years in Michigan, and I've become kind of a Pistons fan, and I know a lot of their fans, and the fans are great fans, knowledgeable, and they deserve a solid team.
You know, and I think with that $43 million too, it affords them, let's face it, this kind of reminds me of the Tigers back in 2006 when they went after Pudge Rodriguez. They had to overpay to get him. And I think the Pistons are going to have to overpay to get somebody to come to Detroit, Steve, because I think, let's face it, Detroit is not Los Angeles. It's not Miami.
No.
There's no glitz.
No.
There's no glamour. It's not New York City with the bright lights. So they're going to have to throw the bank at Ayton or somebody like that to help turn around this franchise, because the Pistons fans are starving for it. They're in a brand new arena, with the Red Wings, and this is do or die time. I think Weaver's going to have to make some moves along with Casey. You know, this is put up or shut up time for him too.
I think the Pistons have a pretty good 2-3 guys to build around, and Cade Cunningham, Isaiah Stewart, Sadiq Bey.
Yeah.
I think those 3 guys are guys who play the right way. A lot of fans have really got on board with Cade Cunningham. You know, I just hope they can keep him, because I think if they keep losing, I think he'll get frustrated, and I can see Cunningham leaving in a couple of years. But, hey, if they get Ayton and who knows, maybe another player, another guy, and it's going to take someone who's got some courage, that wants to come to a losing team and help them. But unfortunately, Lou, we're in a time, especially in basketball, where these superstars want to go to teams that are close to winning already or winning, like Kevin Durant going to the Golden State Warriors. And the good thing about the finals this year, neither team was a super team.
No.
You know, they both built on the draft and a couple of trades here and there. But, you know, that's what the Pistons are going to have to do. They're going to have to get someone who wants to take a chance and who trusts. And like you said, Troy Weaver, it's time to put up. You know, it's time to shut up because, you know, you can talk about a guy's reputation, his last stop. You know, he did a good job here. He brought this guy in. You know, like the Knicks are going through that right now. They're talking about all these guys who have been successful in the front office. Scott Perry, Wes Wesley, you know, Lon Rosen, all these guys. But what are you doing? Your team didn't even make the playoffs. And no one, you talk about New York bright lights. No one wants to come to the Knicks and play for New York anymore. It's more so they'd rather go to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So let's hope someone, I don't know, steps up and hopefully tomorrow night they can get one of those pieces that I was talking about, a guy who plays the right way. And I think they're going to get somebody, you know, with their pick.
You know, we could talk about that a little bit a little later, but I know they get the 37th pick, and then they get Milwaukee's protected pick in 3 years. So it's going to be dividends down the road. But great analogy with you on Jeremy Grant. Let's get to the NBA Finals. Golden State, you know, they won their fourth title in what, 8 years?
Yep.
They're scary good, Steve. We both picked them to go to the finals, but I think we both picked Milwaukee to win it.
Yeah, we did.
But we got it half right.
I knew you were going to remind me. I knew it. I said, okay, I got to bite the bullet, and at least we had one team in there.
That's right. We both have to bite the bullet on that one. But I got to tell you, we both thought that Jason Tatum, and he is a burgeoning superstar. I believe that.
Yeah.
But you know, when you and I were talking privately, you know, amongst ourselves, saying that he was a no-show, and you know, he kind of was. And, you know, first of all, I want to ask you, with what Golden State has coming up with Wiseman and Wiggins and Poole, it's kind of an interesting transition, Steve, because they've still got Steph for a few more years. You know, they've got Klay Thompson. Is this a dynasty that can maintain in the Western Conference for the next few years?
I really think they can, because they have those young guys like Gary Payton II and Jordan Poole coming off the bench. Kevon Looney's a young guy. And I'll tell you what, watching Steph Curry and even Draymond going up and down the floor, these guys, see, here's the thing about today's players, and it doesn't get talked about that often. The behind-the-scenes self-care and team care they get from physicians and nutritionists and people like that, and the way they travel and the time they take off, these players are taking care of their bodies so they can go a little longer than, say, like a Walt Frazier or Willis Reed or guys, even Larry Bird. But I tell you what, Lou, I think Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, they've been together for 10 years now, going strong. Steph's been in the league for 13 years. Those guys got at least 3 to 5 more years in them, I think, if they want. And I can see them winning 2, maybe 3 more championships, maybe, if they stay healthy. But, Lou, I got to make this proclamation right now. I think these 3 guys are the best trio that I've seen in a long time with on the same team that have played 5 years or more. I know Rodman, Pippen, and Jordan, they played 3 years together, but these guys have been together for 10 years. And, Lou, it's refreshing in a day where guys want to team up, play for 1 or 2 years, win a championship, and then leave, like James Harden, Kevin Durant. But seeing these 3 guys together, big-time loyalty, and I love it.
Now, speaking of Steph Curry, I got to ask you this. You know, I got to put him up there as an all-time great as a point guard. You know, and I know you and I have talked about this in the past where we don't like to label top 10, top 15 of all time, but I'm hearing it all over. So I want to bring it up with you.
Right.
You know, Steph to me is a top 3 point guard. He proved it. He made his bones by winning the MVP. I still think he should have got it in 2015, but you know, that's neither here nor there. I put him up there with Isaiah because Isaiah won a couple championships, Oscar, you know, Magic. You know, he's got to be up there as one of the top point guards of all time. And my second part of this next question, do you put him in the top 12 of all time of all the players?
Well, you know, I'm glad you extended it to 12 because I see everybody doing 10, and I read what you read. I listen to what you listen to. and I get sucked in too. I'm not a big fan of top lists, but I know a lot of fans are, and
Yeah.
media are into it. And people love lists. They love to debate. And I really want to join, the party, the circle, and I want to list my top players of all time, top 10, top 5, whatever. And I got to say, in the point guard position, the other night when the Warriors won and I was watching Steph, and I'm crazy, Lou, because I record the games and then I watch them the next day. Lou, I came to this conclusion. I always had a problem with him and John Stockton as the second and third greatest point guards of all time.
Uh-huh.
I cemented my opinion. Steph Curry, in my eyes, is the second greatest point guard of all time behind Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
And I'll put Stockton at 3. And as for top 12 all time, Lou, I really think he is. And it's hard because there's so many players in the last 75 years to pick a 10. I'm glad you pushed it to 12. I think Steph cracked the top 10. And it's common sense. If you know the game, if you watch the game, this guy has changed the game. Lou, not only can he shoot the ball, but he can shoot it off the dribble and he can shoot it on the catch and shoot. A lot of guys can't do that. Reggie Miller couldn't go off the dribble. Ray Allen couldn't go off the dribble. So Steph, and I'll tell you what, he's not a bad defender. People get after him for that, but he's not that bad. And I'll tell you what, Lou, one of the knocks against him was he was slow. I watched him 3 times in this series. Go around the defensive player of the year and shoot a layup and score 2 points. So people who think Steph Curry is slow are insane.
To your argument about the top 12, I listen to these shows and you get people calling in with theirs. And one name that I always forget, and you just, because he was never a big media guy, was Tim Duncan. All he did, what did he win? 5 titles?
Yeah.
And the guy was in. It's how can you take, it's fun banter that guys like you and I can have back and forth on it, but that's one name that I always omit when I think of the top players of all time. Then I think, how can you admit this guy? He's right there. He was a trendsetter.
You know why, Lou? You know why? I'll try to answer your question.
Okay.
He wasn't sexy and flashy, and he wasn't extravagant. He wasn't like, out in strip clubs getting arrested. His street credibility on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest for street cred, Tim Duncan was probably like a -1.
Yeah.
Because Lou, I remember when the Spurs played the Cavaliers in the championship, I believe it was, and everyone was saying it was a boring series. But then a couple of years later, the people were saying, "Oh, we missed a fundamentally sound Spurs in the finals." But all Duncan did was go out, compete, play the right way, and Lou, talk about character. I'll give him a 10+ in character because he's one of the nicest guys in the world.
He certainly is, and it just makes you miss a team like that was always there. But I think maybe we have that now with Golden State because, like you said, I'm right there with you. Before we get talking about Boston and what they need to improve, I'm looking at the Western Conference and, a disappointment to me was Phoenix. I thought they could have played a lot better. Up-and-comers, I think, are Dallas and whatnot. And, I was watching something yesterday, or I saw it on the screen. I think it was yesterday or whenever it was. And they said that Dallas is one of the teams to watch out for besides Golden State. They had them on the same line. I think they're a year or two away maybe, but I don't think anybody's afraid of Phoenix anymore. I think they've been kind of figured out. And like you said, I don't think Ayton's going to be around next year. So, and the Lakers, they're a mess. So I think the table is set for Golden State.
Yeah, the only thing I can see with the Lakers is Darvin Ham, the new head coach, coming in and players buying into his system. Darvin Ham is from Saginaw, Michigan. He went to the same high school as Draymond Green, Saginaw High. And I think you talk about street cred. I think he's going to come in with a good reputation because he's a proven assistant coach around the NBA. And guys tend to flock and magnetize towards, long-term assistants because these guys know the game. They know the deal. So I just have my fingers crossed because I love LeBron James and I love Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
And it really broke my heart this year that, and the thing that bothers me is Anthony Davis doesn't get much of the, clap back because no one really says anything about him, mailing it in this year.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, step up and say, instead of saying I haven't picked up a ball since April, why don't you step up and say I let the team down? Because you did, because LeBron went out there and put up 30 a game. Russell Westbrook was out there every game playing his heart out. So don't just blame those two guys.
Yeah.
Take some responsibility yourself. So I hope the Lakers turn it around, and I think they can. Anything's possible with LeBron. And as for the Mavericks, I tell you what, I love Luka Doncic. I heard people giving him some heat the other night on Twitter, which I hate reading things like that.
Yeah.
But you know what? He's an incredible player. Utah's going to have a new coach now. Who knows if Donovan Mitchell is going to stay there? Every year it's the same thing with the Nuggets. This guy's coming back, that guy's coming back. If Jamal Murray ever gets back to his normal self, you just never know. But the one team I think we should watch out for is the Memphis Grizzlies.
Okay.
Because they won 56 ball games last year. And I think with, Jaren Jackson and John Morant and those guys, I think they can be a team next year who can maybe take over Phoenix for the Western Conference.
What did you make of Snyder leaving Utah?
I just think after 8 years,
Yeah.
I always thought 5 years was the cutoff for guys whose voice in the locker room just gets tuned out at a certain time. And I think now maybe it could be 8 years. And Snyder did all he could. He turned around the program. It's hard, man. Coaching, Lou, I got to tell you, winning is hard. People, it sounds so easy and simple and it doesn't sound complex at all. But unless you've coached, Lou, winning is hard at any level, because here's the difference, Lou, between a player and a coach. For a player, all he really cares about or needs to care about is himself. But a coach needs to worry about 12 different people at the same time. And it's really, really hard. But Snyder did his best. I think he'll land somewhere after being a year out, maybe doing some media or something. Yeah. But I was a little bummed out. I like Quinn Snyder. He made some mistakes at Missouri as a head coach, paid his dues, though, as an assistant, worked his tail off. And I thought he did a good job in Utah.
We're joined tonight here on the Extravaganza podcast by our basketball expert, Steve Finamore, as we break down everything going on in the world of the NBA. Let's flip it now to the Eastern Conference. Jason Tatum, we talked about it at the top. We both, we've sang his praises. We both said the last time you were on the show, he's an up-and-coming superstar. I believe he is. I still think, I don't know, is this maybe a stepping stone like we've always talked about, like with the Pistons and the Bulls and from, 30 years ago? What does he have to do, Steve, in the offseason to, I don't know, maybe I don't want to say his confidence is shot, but is there anything that you can see watching him in these finals that he needs to improve on to get that next step and not only get them back to the finals, but maybe get them that next championship?
I have to admit, Captain Lou, I was never a Jason Tatum fan.
Okay.
Until this playoffs that we just seen. He really, really changed my perspective. He changed my point of view on him. I thought his defense got better. I thought his aggressiveness got better, and his passing got better. He averaged 7 assists a game. He averaged 7 assists a game in the championship series. And I don't know if many people talked about that. They talked about his lack of shooting. His percentage was a little low, I believe, from the floor itself. I think it was like 38%, but he shot the three pretty well. But his assists were really good, and I like that. I just think Boston, they were up. Let's not forget, Lou, Boston was up 2-1 in the series.
Yeah.
Okay. People tend to forget about that. And then Golden State came back and won 3 straight by double figures all 3 games. I like Tatum now. I really do. I got to say this, too. I don't think he deserved first-team All-NBA. I thought Kevin Durant should have got that spot. Yeah. I thought he was a little cheated out of that for some reason, but that's okay. I think Kevin Durant's a better player than Jason Tatum, first of all.
Right.
And so I think Tatum's going to be fine. A couple of guys, and no one brought this up, and this is what happens in the media. Everybody tends to criticize the superstar, but there were some Boston Celtics players who did not play well after game 3, Derek White was really bad.
Yeah.
Peyton Pritchard was awful. Grant Williams, he was awful those last 3 games. Okay. Meanwhile, Jordan Poole and Gary Payton, like I mentioned earlier, those guys just outplayed White, Pritchard, and Grant Williams. So sometimes I get it. Everybody will say, oh, well, he's the best guy. He's got to take the heat. He makes all the money. I get all that kind of stuff. But, hey, Jaylen Brown's another one, man. He's a nice player. Lou, I just hope they stay together with Marcus Smart. Yeah. And then Robert Williams. He wasn't healthy. Their right. Big man, he was in and out of the lineup, and he wasn't playing 100%. So I think they have 3 really good pieces, maybe 4. And if they can make a deal or 2 here or there, I think Boston's a team to reckon with, for the next few years.
Well, I think they will be too, along maybe with Miami. I'm a little worried about Jimmy Butler, with his track record. Is he going to get tired of not being able to get to the next level? I like that team.
Lou, I don't like making excuses.
Go ahead.
Here's something that could defend you and I when we had the Bucks winning it all, or I had the Bucks winning it all.
Yeah.
Let's not forget Chris Middleton was hurt for the playoffs.
That was huge.
Now I don't want to say things would have been different, but they would have been different with Chris Middleton playing. So let's not forget about Milwaukee, because Giannis is going to be determined. And who knows what the Brooklyn Nets will do? Yeah. I hope they let Kyrie Irving go. I'm not a Kyrie Irving fan. I never was. Never was a Kyrie Irving fan. I don't care if you won a championship in Cleveland. I don't care if you made that big shot from the right wing. I want to see the Nets, let him go, because look what happened to Boston. Boston brought Kyrie Irving in. Yeah. And it was a crap show. All right. And even, so I hope the Nets let him go.
Boy, you hear the rumors about him for Anthony Davis going to the Lakers. Could you see him and LeBron and Westbrook together? And I don't know if that would be putting oil and gasoline or whatever you want to fire, whatever. I just don't see how that would work out there.
Lou, you know what that would be? That would be One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh my God.
The sequel. That'd be the sequel to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh my God, no kidding. They'd be driving the bus down to the down to the shore, stealing the boat to go after the fish. Oh my God, yes. Poor Darvin Ham would be Nurse Ratched. My God.
I know. And he might be fired by Christmas time.
Oh gosh, no kidding. Hey, let's switch gears to the draft coming up tomorrow. I'm going to ask you, since, the New York Knicks are still your number 1 team, what in your mind do they have to go after tomorrow to get them back in the playoffs or to help?
I'll tell you, Lou, I was talking to a friend last night, and he asked me, hey, Finamore, are you still with the Knicks, or do you move over to the Celtics? And I said to him, nah. I mean Nets. I say Celtics. I mean Nets.
Okay,
Nets.
I was gonna say, come on now, you better not go to the Celtics.
No. Because I grew up 5 minutes, 10 minutes away from where the Nets play, and Lou, I hope they do well in this draft tomorrow night. I really do. I don't know what is going to change things around, because I tell you what, I'm so confused, because 2 seasons ago, there was a glimmer of hope when they lost to the Hawks in the first round. I said, okay, Thibodeau's got them playing hard. They're defending. Good things are going to happen next year. They beat the Celtics on opening night last season and the other season, and they turn around and they can't even make the playoffs. So there's so much talk, what they need, a point guard, a shooting guard, a center, Mitchell Robinson this, Mitchell Robinson that. I'm not a Julius Randle fan. I hear them talking about packaging Obi Toppin and sending him off. And Lou, I really got to be honest, man. I don't know what is going to turn this organization around. But I do know that front office, they better get their tails in gear, because New York is not going to stand for these guys. I don't like these guys that come into these organizations with these so-called reputations of getting players, turning teams around. Yeah. It's show me the action, man. I don't want to hear the talk. It's about the doing. Yeah. Don't tell me what you've done in the past, because you could talk all you want about Joe Dumars, But to me, talk about the draft, Lou, and I wanted to bring this up. In 2003, when Joe Dumars took Darko Milicic, that was one of the that had to be one of the worst. The Sacramento Kings fans are ticked off for passing up on Luka Doncic a couple of years ago. But, hindsight is 20/20. Same thing with the Darko situation. I get it.
Sam
but
Bowie.
Come on, man. I mean, do you remember the guys that were picked after
my
Darko
God.
in that 2003 draft?
Oh, yeah. Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony,
Chris Bosh.
Chris Bosh. Oh, yeah.
I mean, Lou, hey, listen, and before we get into the players
you're
here,
good. You're good.
And the top 5 tomorrow night, who I think are going to be, we got to give a special shout out in honor of the late, great Pistol Pete Maravich.
Yeah.
Because here we are talking about college players, and today would have been Pistol's 75th birthday.
Wow.
But he died. He died in 1988 at 40 years of age of a heart attack.
Yeah.
And to me, Lou, these kids today, next time you talk to a young basketball player or fan, ask them if they know who Pete Maravich is, or ask them who's the all-time leading scorer in college basketball history. And to me, Lou, I know players. We talk about Jordan, Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Jabbar, Dr. J. To me, not enough people talk about Pistol Pete Maravich. So, if he's in basketball heaven right now, shout out to Pete Maravich.
Well, I'm sure he is up there, and he's having a cold one and probably shooting free throws, or that would-be three-pointer that he never got to shoot, for sure.
No three-pointer at LSU. No shot clock. And all he did was put up numbers. And, 3,600 points he scored. He averaged 44 points a game over 3 years.
Wow, amazing.
And you're talking about guys tomorrow night who are going to go in the first round or second round who averaged 9 points a game as a freshman last year, like Max Christie and Caleb Houston from Michigan and Michigan State. They averaged 10 points and 9 points respectfully last year.
Who would have thought?
And I'm listening to Tom Izzo on TV before saying he's going to go 16 to the Bulls. And I'm saying to myself, I don't see it. I just don't see it.
I don't either.
Christie?
I don't
Come
either.
on, man.
No, I don't see either one. I don't see any of those three, Diabate, Houston, or Christie going in the first round. Second round, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe and that's for potential, though. That's what these kids are being recruited. Hey, listen, Lou, let's be honest, man. They don't want to go to 8 o'clock classes anymore in the middle of the winter.
No.
They don't want to deal with calculus. They don't want to deal with statistics. They don't want to sit in the lecture hall. They want to play ball and get paid, which I understand. They maybe go to the G League,
right?
But they want to get off of campus. And what I'm really sad about with tomorrow night's draft, when you think about these players, Chet Holmgren, Bonchero, Ivy, Murray, Smith, poor Imani Bates from Ypsilanti, Michigan. If you know the Imani Bates story, and if any of your listeners are a little unfamiliar with Imani Bates, Google him, because I'm telling you right now, Lou, 3 years ago, people were telling me, and I was one of them, I bought into it, that he was going to be the number 1 draft in this draft, number 1 pick. And that poor kid doesn't even have a school right now.
I was just going to ask you. I hadn't heard yet. Wow.
Doesn't even have a school where he's enrolled. I'd love to see him go to Eastern Michigan, his hometown school. I mean, George Gervin went to Eastern Michigan. Why can't Imani Bates?
That's right. He may end up there. You brought up a name. I want to talk to you right now about this guy. Chet Holmgren. He's 7'1", about 190 pounds, soaking wet.
Yeah.
They say that he could change basketball with his size and his range and his athletic ability. My dad thinks he's the second coming of Oscar Robertson, just 7'1". I want to get your point of view on it. I've watched him a few times, Steve. He's good, but man, is he a project in your opinion, or can he handle getting banged around in the NBA?
Oh, he'll be fine.
Okay.
He'll be fine because the game is so finesse now.
Okay.
The game is not a power game like the 70s and 80s anymore, where they question guys' strength. And let's not forget now, when Kevin Durant came out of college and he was at the combine, he could not barely bench 180 pounds, I heard. And he was 150 pounds soaking wet. All you got to do, here's my Chet Holmgren, here's my comparison, and people can call me crazy, but that's okay. He's Larry Bird and Kevin Durant mixed.
Wow.
Don't get me wrong. He's not as talented as those guys yet, but he does things. If you watch him, he does things that Bird and Kevin Durant do, which is shoot the three and share the ball and handle the ball. He's really good at that. And Lou, here's the number one thing, though, that's going to make him special in the next 10 years. He's a great teammate, and he's a high character guy.
He's
awesome. High character, low maintenance. And when you got those guys, and see, here's the thing that men 50 years or older do not give a lot of these kids credit for. They bash the game now, shooting threes all day. They bash it and all the money they make. But these kids are really, really high in character. They're wonderful kids. Yeah. All these guys coming out in the draft, all these freshmen and the two sophomores, Jaden Ivey and Keegan Murray, these kids are wonderful people, man, like great human beings. And these NBA organizations, these are the kind of kids they want. That's why they're drafting them.
So with the top 5 coming up, Detroit's got the 5th pick. You know, I know they want from what I read and what I listen to, I hear they want Ivy from Purdue, but I don't know if he's going to be there. I've heard rumors that the Knicks are trying to trade to get Detroit's pick. But that aside, Steve, give me your top 5. Who do you think from 1 to 5, if you were picking tomorrow, what would be your order?
I would go with Chet Holmgren as number 1.
Okay.
And let's not forget with the draft, a lot of times it goes by need, what the team needs. So I'm just going to go with 5, not knowing what teams need. How about that?
All right.
I would go Chet Holmgren, number 1. I'd go Banchero, the kid from Duke, number 2. I'd go Jabari Smith from Auburn, number 3, who's a wonderful, wonderful kid. You talk about high character. Yeah. And I think 4 and 5, I would go with the young man from Purdue, Jaden Ivey, and I'd go with the kid from Iowa, Keegan Murray, who, by the way, Lou, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Keegan Murray's father, Kenyon Murray, played at Battle Creek Central High School and was Mr. Basketball back in the day, and he played at Iowa. So he comes from a great basketball background. I love Jaden Ivey from Purdue. His mother's the head coach at Notre Dame for their women's team. So, Lou, you're looking at 5 guys in my eyes. I tell you what, either way, the Pistons can't go wrong. Yeah. But if somehow they can get Ivy at 5 with him and Cade Cunningham in the backcourt, watch out.
That would be awesome. I hope they can. I don't know. I just don't think he's going to be there. But, you know, I really like that Jabari Smith too. I honestly think he's going to end up going 1 from what everything I've read, and then Holmgren will go 2. Yep. But wow, yeah, there's some talent up there in the top 5 for sure. It's going to be. No, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I get it, Lou. I get what the Magic need. You know, the Magic have some pretty good backcourt players. They have Jalen Suggs from Gonzaga. So I mean, I get it. They need a big who can score, who's versatile, who's fundamentally sound. But I'm excited about these 5. And Lou, I got to be honest. You know, for the rest of the guys coming up being drafted, I really haven't paid too much attention to them, but I shouldn't be negligent because in the past, guys have been drafted. You know, you take a Draymond Green. Everybody's saying, "Oh, there's nobody left," but who would have thought Draymond Green would have turned into this type of player? He was drafted in the 2nd round.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, nobody did. Nobody did.
I didn't see it at all. Hey, Steve, I want to talk real quick. We had some bad news yesterday. I think it was yesterday or the day before. Caleb Swanigan. Oh my goodness, passed away at 25, natural causes. It's just, it's been a rough year as far as that goes for, you know, talent here in the Michigan area with ties to the state, you know, with what happened with, with Michigan State. And then, of course, Swanigan was a Michigan State commit at one point, and then he went to Purdue. You know, a nice young man. It just tugs at your heartstrings, doesn't it?
Hey, Lou, I was at an open gym one day up at Michigan State. I used to go up there a lot, but since the pandemic and COVID hit, I've kind of stayed away.
Yeah.
But I was at an open gym. I used to love going to the open gyms after the season, like in the spring, and high school kids would be coming up on their visits,
Okay.
unofficial visits, and those high school kids, they play pickup ball with the current Spartan players. And I remember seeing Caleb Swanigan up there, and he was going up and down. And the two things I noticed about him, number one was he was on the skins team, shirts and skins. And I thought to myself, he was a little overweight. You know, I looked at his midsection, but he was just a high school kid.
Yeah.
His eating habits, you know, like everyone's in high school. Just and the second thing I noticed about him was his temperament. He was so quiet. He was so refreshing to watch. He'd catch the ball in the post, Lou, and throw it out to open shooters. He ran the court really hard. And I said, wow, Michigan State's got possibly another Zach Randolph.
Oh,
Remember
wow.
Zach Randolph?
Oh, boy.
And I said, we got another Zach Randolph here, I think. And it was just so sad. I have a good friend who sends me these texts all the time when someone famous passes away, and I just felt so bad. And like you mentioned, Adrian Payne. I mean,
Yep.
Lou, you know, we take life for granted.
Oh.
I think everyone does, because we don't think it could happen to us. And I tell you what, Lou, as I get older, I don't know about you, but as I get older, I really, really, I cherish each day.
Oh,
I try to
boy.
get the most. And I know it's a cliche. I try to get the most out of each day. I try to enjoy it. Try not to get upset. But and I tell the kids that sometimes too. I say, listen, guys, like we had a couple of weeks ago, we had a young man commit suicide. He was 15 years old.
Oh, boy.
And everyone's so sad in our community. And you know, I'm afraid to talk to the kids sometimes because you don't want to really mention things like that. But
Sure.
you just never know, Lou, what someone's going through. So I feel bad for Swanigan. He didn't make it in the NBA. I heard a bunch of knuckleheads calling him a bust. And anyway, life is precious, man. Let's cherish each moment.
You know, and I kind of feel bad too, because you know, I heard tonight Tony Saragusa passed away, 55 years old. You know, a little bit younger than younger than me. I think you're my age.
Yep,
So you know, and I feel bad because I was pissed at him at first because he used to make fun of Joey Harrington for the Lions.
Yes, yeah, I remember that.
You know,
I remember that.
Calling him champagne quarterback, but it's like he was such a bubbly personality. You know, I read a lot about him, you know, after that, and, you know, it was just, that's just who he was, you know, and your point is so well taken. You know, just, you got to make the most of everything, man.
Yeah. Hey, Lou, I got a Tony Saragusa story.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
If we got the time.
Absolutely.
New York City, I'm working as a doorman at the famous Planet Hollywood restaurant. It was a movie-based themed restaurant owned by Bruce Willis, Sylvester Stallone, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm working the door. I worked there for 3 years, and we had closed. We closed at 2 a.m., and the kitchen was shut down. The bar patrons, they were walking out. All of a sudden, I see a big guy get out of a car. I'm standing right outside the door, keeping people from coming in. The manager said, that's it, shut it down. I see a big dude get out of a car right in front of the restaurant with a young lady. I have no idea who it is. Usually I could recognize the celebrities, the athletes, the big guys, the short guys. And all of a sudden he gets closer. And I say to myself, that's Tony Saragusa, the Indianapolis Colts. And I go, Goose, what's up? He goes, hey, man, how you doing? He goes, he goes, you think me and my girl here can just go in and walk around and check the place out? We don't want to eat. We don't want to drink. So I look inside. The manager's behind the bar counting money. I said, all right, Goose, no problem, man. Go ahead. So I let him inside, and he walks around for about 10, 15 minutes. Now, we got memorabilia from all kinds of movies scattered around the restaurant. People love to look. I said, it was a museum.
Sure.
And I don't know, 10, 15 minutes later, Goose comes out. He goes, hey, man, thanks a lot. And he hands me a $20 bill, man.
Oh, wow.
I'll never forget it. It was a great time, and I was so sad. I even got a chance to talk to, I don't know, Tom Crean. Remember Tom Crean, the basketball coach? Right?
Yes.
His wife is Jim Harbaugh's brother. Jim Harbaugh and Joni Harbaugh are siblings, and Joni used to tell me how nice of a guy Saragusa was.
Oh, wow. What a small world, eh? Holy cow.
Yes, very, very small.
Well, the NBA season's over, college season's over. I know they're going to start up before we know it. Do you pay attention to the Moneyball here in Lansing?
I do not.
Okay, I don't either.
Don't,
I know that they've got some decent names there that
yeah,
play.
yeah. I don't pay attention on purpose. I just, here's the thing with summer leagues. I think it's for the younger generation.
Okay.
I think they like to see the star, the profile guys out there running up and down. It's usually not the most competitive games. There's a lot of shooting, which is fine. It's an entertainment source, which I get. I think Desmond Ferguson does a tremendous job in running it and footing the bill for everything. And I think it's good if you're a local basketball fan. It's a good night. Yeah. It's a good time to go out, on a weeknight, check out the games. And there's been some memorable moments there. I remember Draymond. I'll never forget Draymond Green when he's in the NBA. It might have been his second or third year with the Warriors. He came back one summer and he played in a game. And him and Matt Costello. Remember Matt Costello?
Sure do.
Matt Costello won Mr. Basketball over Denzel Valentine, and I'll never forget that. But anyway, Draymond and Matt Costello, boy, they were going at it, and they were so physical with each other. But, there are some summer leagues around the country that are really, really exciting and competitive. And I like summer ball, Lou. I always tell people basketball is one of the only sports where you can really play all year round, with a team.
Yeah.
So I like it. I like summer basketball. I love the summer league in Vegas, the NBA summer league, which starts next month. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, Steve, this has been great. I appreciate you coming on.
Yes.
We'll take a little bit of hiatus for the summer. We'll both catch our basketball breath, and can't wait for fall to get, I want to enjoy the summer, but when the fall comes, that means basketball starts back up and we can get you back on and get fired up about the college and the pro season, man. I really appreciate you taking time out tonight.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, Lou, I'm going to leave you with this.
Yes.
Steph Curry has won 21 NBA championship games. 21 games he's won, okay?
Okay.
Listen to this. Take a guess how many wins Bill Russell had in the NBA Finals.
Oh, wow. 30?
46.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
We forget about Bill Russell sometimes.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, it was unbelievable.
Here's one more before I let you go. What about what Steve Kerr has done as a player and as a coach?
Yep. Hey, I'm reading his memoir, right? I'm reading his biography right now. What an incredible journey he's had. He's got 9 titles, player and coach.
Wow. You talk about guys like, and Bill Russell, obviously, he deserves every accolade he gets. Phil Jackson, but you got Steve Kerr, that's 9. And you and I both know, as long as he, like you mentioned earlier, as long as they keep the band together there and he stays, he doesn't get burnt out, he could be 10, 11, or 12.
This is like a Chicago Bulls theme, actually, because you got a coach.
Yeah.
You got a coach and you got a core group of players who have been together a long time. But I think the Golden State Warriors front office is a lot.
Yeah.
I don't want to say nicer or better, but I think they're a little different than Jerry Krause and Jerry Reinsdorf, because Jerry Krause always thought it was his show. He wanted all the credit. And I don't think Bob Myers with the Warriors and ownership, I don't think they get in the players and coaches' way. Hey, but I'll tell you what, real quick, Lou.
Yeah.
The way Steve Kerr ended up at Arizona coming out of high school is an incredible story, which never gets talked about. And reading his biography, of course, this is how I learned about it. Coming out of high school, Steve Kerr didn't have any college scholarship offers, Division I. He goes to a summer league and he plays some ball. And Lute Olson had just gotten the Arizona job, and he goes out looking for players. He goes to the summer league one night and sees Steve Kerr play, took a chance on him. Well, it didn't blow him away with anything, but just say, hey, let's take this kid. He looks, like a decent player.
Wow.
And the rest was history, because Kerr actually turned into a pretty decent player. And a funny story Kerr told in the book was, when he was visiting Gonzaga on an unofficial recruiting trip, he played some pickup ball, and they matched him up against a guy who was playing at Gonzaga at the time, His name was John Stockton, and he ate Steve Kerr's lunch. And Kerr said after the game, he goes, "What I learned from that was this guy's a really good player, and I'm terrible."
Well, he
Yeah.
ended up making a pretty good professional career of his
Yes.
own. And,
Yes.
and the last thing with Golden State, too, that you got to remember is they've got an owner and an ownership group that money isn't an object. They're paying the salary cap fines and taxes or whatever. And, they've got that fan base there that'll pay those exorbitant prices, for tickets and whatnot. They're not going anywhere. They're not.
No. And it's funny because in that game 6, I watched it the second time. The Warriors made 19 threes that game, and Boston only made 11. So that was 24-point plus difference. And the most refreshing thing, Lou, and it doesn't get talked about enough because I think people take it for granted, and I've mentioned it, Steph, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green being together for 10 years, Lou. Think about that.
That's incredible. Incredible. Steve, as always, it's been a pleasure. Enjoy your summer. We'll touch base with you. Sorry about your blue shirts not making it to the finals. They're up and coming, though. They're up and coming.
Hey, I just hope Chris Kreider could write it out and maybe feel some of that. But you and I were going back and forth a little bit, and they made New York City proud. But here's my thing, Lou. Same ownership. How the hell can the Rangers make it that far? And my Knicks can't even smell the playoffs.
I don't know. They got Igor is your cornerstone boy. Is he going to be tough? And you've got such young talent coming up. The future is so bright for them. I can't wait for when Detroit gets better and they can do battles with the blue shirts. Man, it's going to be fun.
You're right.
All right,
brother.
You bet. Thanks. Enjoy your summer. We'll be in touch. Thank you, Steve.
You too. Take care, Captain Lou.
All right. Steve Finamore with us, our basketball expert, guru, you name it. Always fun talking to him. I invite you to, when the show is over, go back and listen to his stories about Caleb Swanigan and Pete Saragusa, and also just everything in general. Some great insight on Golden State, on Boston, on everything NBA. That's what he does. He's a living, breathing encyclopedia, and it's always great having Steve Finamore on with us. And we will definitely have him as a staple of our show once basketball season really kicks up, coming up in the fall, around October, the end of September, when training camp comes about and college basketball starts their practice. Hey, everybody, you're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on our YouTube channel and also on the Belly Up Sports podcast group. Always am appreciative of them letting us climb on board. We got a lot of great stuff coming up here as we go through the summer. Invite you to become a follower, a subscriber to our YouTube channel because we will have some great prizes coming up in the fall. For those of you that have watched my show in the past years, we have something called the Captain Lou Six-Pack Challenge with pro football and college football picks, where you can get in the running to make some great, win some great prizes. Doesn't cost you anything to join. We get gift cards and whatnot. A lot of fun to that we have with that, with our viewers, with our listeners. In the correspondence is always fun. So again, we invite you to keep an eye out on that because 4th of July is coming up in a couple of weeks. Then training camp for football starts at the end of July, within a month or so. And then college football kicks into gear. We've got the dog days of baseball coming up. But first, before we get all that, we've got Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals coming up tonight. They're going to drop the puck in about 11 minutes. This is a big game. I've seen the banner back and forth with the Stanley Cup Finals. People call this a must-win. Well, was it a must-win for Tampa Bay the other night, Monday night? I kind of think it was. It wasn't an elimination game, so to speak, because they could technically come back from 3-0. But when you're down 3-0, it is awful hard to come back from that. The only team that I can remember off the top of my head, of course, the Yankees losing to the Red Sox after they had a 3-0 lead. But Tampa Bay came out. They played with a fervor. They played with a purpose. Vasilevsky looked pretty good. Is he going to be able to keep that momentum? Well, here's my thing with Vasilevsky is, I wonder, is he back to form? He kind of stumbled a little bit against the Blue Shirts. Then he was able to regain that form, and he was stellar in net. It seems like when every series starts gaining, like the third and fourth game, that's when Vasilevsky, that's when he gets back in form. That's when he gains his form and he gets that much more unstoppable. But this right now, we just talked about it with Steve Finamore real quick with the Rangers. They're a good young and up-and-coming team. I think they just kind of ran out of gas a little bit. Those youngsters, and they had a little bit of the injury bug, which every team has. But this is interesting. Obviously, I look at the stat. Going back to, is this a huge game? Should Tampa Bay lose this one, they're down 3-1, going back to Colorado for Game 5 on Friday night in Denver. I think if I saw the stat correctly, 1 out of every 35 series, you lose Game 4, you go down 3-1, you're done. Or maybe or you don't even win Game 5. So is it a must-win? I would characterize it as a pretty darn close to a must-win game for Colorado, or I'm sorry, for Tampa Bay tonight. They've got home ice. It's so funny. They give up that goal in Game 3. It gets waved off because of offsides. It was a good call. I still am a big fan of letting the referees make their calls. It's all part of the game. I know replays are there to help, but sometimes these offsides calls, especially some of these replays, take forever. But regardless, it was 0-0. Then Tampa Bay went behind again, and I thought, oh boy, here we go. But boy, they turned it around. Then they ended up pulling Kemper, did Colorado. And they asked, who's going to be in goal tonight? Now, I haven't checked. I haven't watched the pregame shows or whatnot. Is it going to be Kemper? Is it going to be their backup? The backup played well, and his name escapes me right now. I should have probably wrote it down before we started tonight. 6-2 the other night. Game 4 tonight. I'm still saying Tampa's going to win. I picked Colorado in 6, and I still think that they're going to win it. And I think they're going to steal a game in Tampa. But I think it's going to go back to Colorado at 2-2. I think Tampa's going to win tonight. I think it's going to be like a 4-3 or 4-2 game. An empty net goal might make it a 4-2 game. No, I understand that they're going to see if Kadri's going to go. I don't know if he's going to be healthy enough to go. That would be a huge lift for Colorado tonight if they can get him, a little bit of ice time anyways. But I'm looking forward to this one. I'm only going to probably watch the first period with work at 4 a.m., my 4 a.m. wake-up call, but I will tape it. I'll watch it tomorrow. But I'm looking for an exciting game tonight. Game 4, Stanley Cup Finals. It doesn't get any better than that. I will say the NBA Finals were good. The NBA playoff season I thought was pretty good. It grabbed my attention. And, we talked about it in the first part of the show with Steve Finamore, our basketball expert. But to me, it's still the most exciting 7-game series is the Stanley Cup Finals. And that again, Game 4 the puck's going to drop in about 15, 20 minutes. We're going to sign off here in about 5 minutes so we can get front and center to watch it. And then we'll talk all about it. By the next time you and I talk, we will have a Stanley Cup champion. But I still think it's going to go back to Colorado 2-2. And then I think Colorado's going to win the next 2 and win this one in 6. And then the speculation will begin here in Detroit. It's going to ramp up. Who's going to be the head coach in Detroit? We got some head coaching news real quick. John Tortorella. Is he a good fit in Philadelphia? It's so funny because you saw some of the reaction from former players and whatnot, on Twitter, kiss your playoff, your Stanley Cup hopes goodbye. He's a different cat. He can get teams motivated for a little while. And then he kind of wears out his welcome. He's about a 2 to 3 year kind of a guy. And it's kind of what I'm wondering about Gerard Gallant in New York, although he's got a younger group of kids there. But John Tortorella in Philadelphia, is he going to be the difference? Can he get them motivated to get them back to NHL relevance? And then today it was announced that Paul Maurice is going to Florida. It still kind of baffles me what happened in Winnipeg with Paul Maurice. He was linked to some rumors going to Detroit, although their parting of the ways back in the day was not exactly the best in Detroit. So I'm not surprised. I'm a little surprised he ended up in Florida. They've got a pretty good outfit down there. You know, Bobrovsky leading the way in goal for them. They've got, obviously, they were the President's Cup winner. They could put the puck in the net, too. A little bit disappointed in their playoff run, but, you know, you run into a buzzsaw like the Tampa Bay Lightning are. So Paul Maurice is going to Florida. Peter DeBoer is going to Dallas. A little surprised by that one. So that kind of leaves me with a question. Where does Barry Trotz fit? I don't know if it's wishful thinking. It probably is here in Detroit. You know, with, you know, is he going to try to be a part of the rebuild? I still think he goes to Winnipeg. That's where his hometown is. That's where he's from, that area. I think they're a little bit further along in their aspirations to get to the Stanley Cup. But then there's also Nashville. He bought a house in Nashville, so the speculation is there. I guess my thinking is I still say they're going to get Lalonde from Tampa Bay once their run is over this year. That's who I think is going to be their pick. I would love to see Barry Trotz, but I will not be disappointed with Lalonde. And it's so funny that, you know, you heard the rumors about Sergei Fedorov. Those have really quieted down quite a bit. So that's kind of our update on the coaching carousel. Again, we've got Tampa Bay and Arizona, or I'm sorry, I want to say Arizona, the Avalanche, the Colorado Avalanche coming up here at the top of the hour. We're going to close up shop here in a couple of minutes. Real quick on the awards last night. Really happy for Mo Seider from Detroit, first defenseman from Detroit to win the Calder Trophy for Rookie of the Year. Real happy for them. I think they've got some pieces in place in Detroit. They're still a couple of years away, obviously. Let's see what Stevie Y does in the draft. They're getting there. They're getting there. And it's like I said last time, when I will take 6 to 7 year drought if we can have another 25-year run in the playoffs like the Red Wings had. Austin Matthews, not surprised he won the MVP. You know, you see, it's so funny to see all the reaction on social media. At least they get some type of trophy in June in Toronto. Well deserved, I think, for the MVP. And Igor Shesterkin, not surprised he got the Vezina trophy. I can't complain about that. He had a hell of a year there. You know, you could say maybe Vasilevsky, but I think overall, Shesterkin, he got it. He deserves it. So those are the main ones. You know, again, the Norris Trophy, Cale Makar, not surprised, and I think he deserves that as well. There's a guy, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's really just watching him, and I just revel at how well him and McKinnon are playing. Colorado's good. They're going to be good for a while. My hope is Detroit can get back to relevance while they've got a good team to kind of liven up that rivalry a little bit. So, well, hey, that's going to do it. We're just about done here tonight. Want to thank Steve Finamore, our basketball expert, our guru, historian, whatever you want to call it, always has some great insight. I invite you to go back to watch our show here, episode 7 of the Captain Lou Extravaganza podcast. It's on the Captain Lou Sports Network here on YouTube. And also, I will have the Captain Lou, my website is going to be back up and running. I'll have my first article it's been down for about 6 months, but we got it back running. That is CaptainLou.net. I invite you to check that out. It'll be up and running. Tomorrow I'll have my latest episode here of the Captain Lou Extravaganza on there. You can watch it off of CaptainLou.net, or I invite you to subscribe to the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. And again, I want a lot of thanks to the Belly Up Sports Network. We got a great group of podcasts on there. Live TV, Belly Up TV. Who knows? We might be on there in the near future. Working on a lot of great stuff here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. And again, I'm excited just talking about it. And I'm glad that you're able to take time out. For those of you that watch us live or check us out on the replay, we thank you very much. Without you, I wouldn't be doing this. And so, again, just happy to be here. let's watch some hockey, shall we? And again, thanks to Steve for coming on. It was a great NBA season. Football's around the corner. Baseball's still going strong. We'll see you next time. This reminder, keep your heads up. Keep your sticks down. Keep your feet moving. And as always, keep your minds open. Rest in peace, Caleb Swanigan, Tony Saragusa. It's been a rough week for that. But hey, everybody, keep a positive outlook. It's you that counts. All right, everybody. Good night. Thanks for joining us here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza Live on the Captain Lou Sports Network. So long.